And we're live here with Pep Talk UK. I'm Jay Alby, and look, we've got a great guest on this evening. Please get your likes in and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. Hit the like on the video, and look, I think I'm going to be joined by Kenny Ken soon. But look, we've got Bruce Buffer on tonight, an absolute UFC legend, been around for so many years. And when you think of UFC, he's definitely one of the first names that we definitely think about. And we had Mike Goldberg on the other day. An absolute honour to have him. And look, the same this evening. Bruce Buffer, the voice of the UFC, the voice of the Octagon, the man with the passion, the man that gets the fighters up for all the fights. And look, if you've got any questions that you want to ask him, get them in. And it's just exciting stuff. We've had some great news this week. We've had the news that Nick Diaz is coming back to fight Robbie Lawler, the rematch from 17 years ago. We had the Conor McGregor fight at the weekend. 264, which was absolutely amazing. Some unbelievable fights on that card, which I'd like to ask Bruce about, see what he was thinking about the fights that evening and how it ended. And here we are. I think we got Kenny Ken. How you doing, Ken?
I'm all good. Just lots of boxing revelations going on there. You know, it's official that I do put the light on.
Yeah, you're gonna have to put the light on a little bit. Cheers, Ken. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, it's official that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, that fight has been postponed but they've got a date at the 9th of October.
Yeah, I'll see that.
Year. Yeah, and there's
big news.
You know, all sorts of photographs we're seeing with no dates. We don't know what's going on with Tyson Fury. People are getting their pictures taken, these photos taken a week before, 2 weeks before, or has it just been taken recently on the day? Because social media has Tyson Fury going shopping.
Also, Joseph Parker was meant to be at UFC 264. I don't know if you heard that, Ken.
Oh, he was there. He was there.
Yeah, and he's meant to be in his camp, so he's meant to be isolating. So look, rumours going all over the place. We're cracking with the boxing after we spoke to Bruce, because I'm sure we're going to get into some. Like I said, we're going to maybe see the differences in the UFC and boxing, and why I believe UFC's on the way up, maybe surpassing boxing, and we can get in depth. And also, his brother is the famous Michael Buffer as well. So look, some great stuff we can get chatting about tonight. But I hope you're all right, Ken. Hope you're over the Euros. It was a disappointing Sunday at the weekend.
Very disappointed. The reason I'm disappointed is because, as I said to you guys last week, I said to many people, I think a lot of people in this country are beginning to see the difference between losing a quarter-final and a semi-final to losing a final, because really and truly, when you lose a quarter-final and you lose a semi-final, you're not that close. You're not close. When you lose a final, especially the manner you lose, no matter how, defensively and cautiously you play, walking past that trophy, it's hard work. And if you couple it up with the fact that it's in your own stadium in your own country, it makes it just puts a few kind of percentages on the hurt that, a lot of people in this country still feel. And I think to this day as well, I think that, because simple reasons that, it's winning is what it's all about. I'm glad. I love the fact the players took their medals off as they've got them. What's the silver medal?
Oh yeah,
what's that?
Exactly.
It's like
I think maybe. Sorry, Ken.
Yeah,
no, you go, mate.
No, it's just like an Olympic. It's like it's like someone you train hard. Say you're someone like Usain Bolt, Linford Christie, Carl Lewis. There we say Ben Johnson before his troubles. They didn't train to get a silver medal. They trained for the gold medal. So as far as I'm concerned, the only way is gold. So I have no problem with the players showing that amount of disappointment, because, they want to win. And that's what we're all about, winning.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And maybe for the World Cup next year it's experience, but I feel like hopefully this will give the players that, like people like Harry Kane, Jack Grealish, players that ain't in teams that are used to winning, could get a transfer this summer, and that can help us for the World Cup. Because look, Harry Kane, as great as he is, he's never won a trophy. So to him being in the final, that was new to him. Do you know what I mean? You got people in the Italian squad that have won cups. Do you know what I mean? They've won things. So look, it's experience. We're there. We're thereabouts. But I agree that the way that you lose a final is not like losing a semi. It's not like losing a quarter final. It's completely different. And hopefully the players and Gareth Southgate himself can learn from that, and we can push them for the World Cup. But look, we've got a great evening tonight. I don't know. I know Kenny's not a massive fan of the UFC. tonight we can educate. I love doing that because obviously I'm big. Yeah, no, it's great because obviously I've done it at the weekend, the watch along. We had a lot of fans on, had some great chats. Obviously they were asking certain questions to understand certain elements of the UFC or MMA. And yeah, I love talking about it. So I don't need to speak to people that know about it. I enjoy talking to people who don't know about it just as much because I like talking about things that they can learn about and people learning new things. And look, Bruce is on tonight. He's been around for, I think, 1996 was the first UFC event he done. So he's seen where it started from to where it is now, to see the growth and everything like that. And like I said, at the weekend, Conor McGregor, 264. I know he didn't get the result that he wanted, but he fought a great competitor in Dustin Poirier, snapped his ankle, and the gates that they're doing, the productions that they're doing, the fights that they're doing, and the waves they're sending across the world at the moment, when boxing's really dry, isn't it, Ken? You got a minute. Well, yeah, boxing's dead at the moment.
I think we second that as well, because you know when this pandemic, you know, like first started, you know, when it first got serious around the world around March, you know, the penultimate week of March. Dana White was still going strong. He was still putting on events, and, you know, and the fighters were still active. So what's happened is that he had a contingency plan. He probably spoke to the medical people. We'll find that out anyway from you know, Bruce Buffer as well. But we were getting entertainment. We were getting a thing. Boxing, you know, try to get exact. A bit like football and all the other sports. You know, 3 or 4 months into it, they managed to get themselves together. So. Again, I think maybe, you know, that thing we talk about in terms of boxing, not having a fixture list. So we're very much in terms of like promotions and like I said, matchmaking, where football, rugby, and, you know, cricket as a fixture list. But I think when you look at UFC from the outside looking in, obviously I don't really know much about the sport. But what I do know is that there is continuous fights. There does seem to be, you know, in America they call it a roster. I'll call it a fixture list, but, you know, the public are getting entertained, and I think that's where boxing needs to.
And they have all the big fights, Ken. The big fights happen. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Boxing's trying, but I think boxing's been trying to do that for a while, because, you know, there was a, you know, maybe especially in this country, in Britain, when we were having you know, people putting their records online. Let's not forget that, you know, a potential fight between James DeGale and George Groves. Say about, you know, not so bad, they fought 10 years ago, but say about 25 years ago, that fight would have happened, you know, when it was George Groves' 30th fight and probably James Groves' 29th. So they actually fought when, you know, George had 10, I think one had 12 fights, and the other one had 10. So pretty early on, Frank Warren gave us what we wanted. And I think that there was an era because you know, there was a lot of situations where the pay-per-views weren't doing too well with Sky. So because they weren't doing very well with Sky, what was happening is that they had no choice but to sell the sport by getting these fights early. UFC have got no problem with that. You know, the Conor McGregor is one of the biggest stars in the, you know, his combat sport, and it seems he's the biggest star in UFC, but he has got losses in his record.
Yeah, I think what you said, Ken, is great there. That in boxing, the losses are seem to be looked at more than what they are in the UFC. In the UFC, the fans respect the fighters. They understand what it means to go in there, and as long as you put your heart and soul into it, they're going to support you, win, lose, or draw, Ken. And I think that's a big thing with the fan base. They're not so fickle. They don't accept the loss, and also a loss doesn't mean that much because you're fighting the best of the best. It's not like you're fighting someone you shouldn't be beating or something like that. If you look at the weekend, Conor McGregor lost to Dustin Poirier. He's not getting terrorized because he got beat by an absolute monster in Dustin Poirier, an absolute mixed martial arts legend, probably will go down in the Hall of Fame. His resume second to none. And like the UFC bring out personalities. I spoke to Mike Goldberg with Joe a couple of days ago. And going back into the old days of the UFC, people say, what would your Mount Rushmore be of the UFC? And obviously people are going to have their fighters, but I'll have two. I'll have one with 5 fighters and then with 5 other people. And I'll have the Fertitta brothers, Dana White, Big John McCarthy, and I'd also have Bruce Buffer. They're personalities. They're people that get excited for the event. So I get excited for when Bruce is calling fights. I'm pumped. You see that he gets in the fighter's face. He gets them pumped. And that's what it's all about. It's all about the event.
Right now, what I'm doing whilst you're speaking, as we do, I'm just looking at like the records. Like, for instance, I just picked someone out at random, and it says it actually exemplifies what you say. Now look at Holly Holm. Now Holly Holm, you know, she's if you look at her records, especially in UFC, you know, she hasn't, like I said, she's not active at the moment. But if you look at her records, you know, she won the title from Ronda Rousey. But if you look at it, she's, you know, I'm looking at it. She's had 19 fights, 14 wins, 8 knockouts, 6 by decision, and she's had 5 losses. But that hasn't spoilt her legacy. You know what I mean?
But have you heard of Jorge Masvidal? He's got about 13, 14 losses on his record, Ken. So
these are fighters that, you know, that people do speak to me about. But, you know, when you speak about, that is where UFC's different to the state. But again, you know, I think you are getting 50-50 fights. Like in boxing, I suppose there's too much arse protection in terms of like, promoters. The managers, you know, there seems to be a stigma if you lose in boxing. Like, for instance, you can blast someone out, as we well know. Then when you lose, you weren't that much good. Like, people doubt Anthony Joshua, even though if you look at it currently in terms of heavyweight champions that we're currently looking at, he's got the best resume because he gets off his ass and he fights. Now,
exactly.
We all believe that the superior fighter is Tyson Fury, but it's not so. Forget the resume. It's about situations what we had last week, and the fact that he's not active. He's not defending his titles.
Well, the UFC don't do this, Ken.
Yeah.
Francis Ngannou won the heavyweight title, I think, maybe 6 months ago. He said that he ain't ready to fight for the title. Dana White has made an interim title fight already, August the 7th. Derek Lewis versus Garn. So straight away, he doesn't let people sit around. He says, are you going to fight on this day? Because I think on their contracts, I'm not too sure, he has to offer 3 or 4 fights a year, and it's down to the fighters whether they say yes or no. So he will guarantee him 3 or 4 fights a year, and it's down to the fighters whether they take it or not. So that's what he promises every fighter. So look, you're guaranteed that. When do you see that in boxing? Some people might fight once a year, twice a year. It doesn't matter. Every fighter on his roster, no matter who it is.
Has he got a monopoly in terms of the sole promotion? Because in boxing, what we have is that, you know, I think the reason why UFC, from the outside looking in, is doing well is because he seems to have a monopoly. And I think what's happening in certain sports, I think what sports need to realise is that the public probably, and if we look at the percentages, maybe we'd do a poll whilst we're speaking, but it seems like the public liked a monopoly in terms of one body being involved in the sport. They want a undisputed champion. They want the best of the best, and I think that goes for all sports. No different bodies.
100%.
But it seems like in business, we love competition. We love, you know, like variety. Like, we like Coca-Cola. We also like Pepsi Max. We want to get a bag of Skips. We want to either go to Morrison's, you know, Sainsbury's, Asda, Co-op. So we like choice. But in boxing, sports fans don't seem to do that. And maybe, just maybe, that's probably why UFC is doing another thing with UFC as well. It's a young person's, it's a young event in terms of, like, you know, Bruce Buffer's been in commenting on UFC since 1996. The first time I actually heard of UFC was actually when I was watching a comedy program, and that was about nearly 20 years ago, where, you know, one of the characters said he's conquered the world of business and now he wants to be the ultimate fighting champion. I went, and I went, what's that? And then you know, someone showed me, and it was actually UFC. So in terms of that, you know, phenomenon, you know, I took me off the ball because I'm really interested in him. I was hearing Conor McGregor, you know, there was Rickson Gracie, all those sort of things, and I still was very loyal to the Queensberry rules. But, you know, you can't take your eye of it. You know, you can't take your eye of Ronda Rousey. You can't take your eye of Francis Ngannou. You can't take your eye of Holly Holm, Conor McGregor. You know,
it's just like a steam train, isn't it, Ken? You can't, like you say, you can't ignore it when it's making waves like it is. I've been watching it since 2005. The Ultimate Fighter 1. So for me, like it's been an incredible journey. Like when I was watching it, I had to watch it on Challenge because it was in the UK. It had no broadcast, and then it went to Spike, and then it was like very difficult to watch. But now look at it. Like I said, over time, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just believe that what they do with the production wise, what they put into the week up, the build up to the fight, you're always seeing the fights being promoted. Look, these fights are in America, but I'm seeing it in the UK all the time. But these boxing shows in America, say like people like Gervonta Davis or the Charlo brothers, you're not hearing it over here till a few days before the fight. Do you know what I mean? If you're lucky. So it's the production and everything like that.
Yeah, but I think what's happened is that there's a reason for that's happened is because of simple reasons that, you know, Sky took their eye off the ball because they were so, you know, maybe what they've done is that they put all their eggs into one promoter, which is Eddie Hearn, because previously what was happening is that, you know, I was watching some Frank. I already knew about this already, but Frank Warren mentioned about the reason why he left Sky was Sky cut the money down in terms of like they give. So basically, they were going to give all their promoters, like I said, 16 shows, but they had to. So two promoters, one got 8 shows, and one got the other 8 shows, and one was getting so per promotion they'll get 100 grand. So 800 grand for 8 shows isn't breaking even. But that's what Barney Eastwood was offering in 2010, 2011, because he thought because the pay-per-view shows weren't doing very well.
Hello, Ken.
So that's what.
Hello.
Hey guys.
Bruce Buffer, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us? Okay.
I hear you great. No problem.
Lovely to speak to you today. Having you on Pep Talk UK. I had the pleasure of speaking to Mike Goldberg a couple of days ago. That was a lifelong dream of mine, growing up watching the UFC. You're another one, Bruce. For me, this has made my day again. As I said earlier, there's a Mount Rushmore for the UFC. I'm not the typical. I won't pick 5 fighters. I'll have them on one side, but then I'll have 5 personalities. The Fertitta brothers, Dana White, Big John McCarthy, with you also on there, Bruce, closely by Mike Goldberg and Joe Rogan. But look, you're a personality. You're fantastic, and it's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words very much.
Oh, no, it's an honour. And Kenny here, he's a massive boxing fan. We normally do boxing on this channel, but I've bought a bit of UFC here. I've done the first watch-along, 264 at the weekend. I'm a massive fan since 2005, the Ultimate Fighter 1. And look, Kenny's here. He's intrigued. I love people learning the UFC or learning mixed martial arts, new fans. And tonight it's a pleasure for Kenny as well. So, Kenny, if you want to say a few kind words to Bruce as well.
Hi, Kenny.
Yeah, as I said before, hi, Bruce. Yeah, as Jay says, I'm a massive, massive fan of boxing because, you know, in terms of UFC, it's still very new to me. Obviously, we always talk about Dana White, yourself, you know, Conor McGregor, Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey. You know, we were talking about, you know, Francis Ngannou's, you know, New Zealand, Nigerian. So we're talking about all these sort of fights. But for me, I look over it from the outside looking in. I look over UFC as a jealous rival because I look at boxing, and you know, in football, you know, in America, you have words like roster. In football, we have the words called. In England, we have futurists. But what's happened is you keep on producing these fights. Like one of the things I do admire is that there's no, and excuse my French, but there's no arse protection with UFC as we get with British boxing, and you know, boxing across the states, especially with PBC, Bob Arum, you know, Al Heyman, where fighters tend to protect their records. What I'm seeing with UFC is like number 1 will fight number 2, and that it's not critical in UFC. If you know a top fighter gets a loss in boxing, if you lose a fight, you know they're talking about your career being over. So that's one of the things I sort of wanted to ask you as well. Was that how are we going to save boxing? Because you know we had a situation with Tyson Fury pulling out, but if UFC is still going strong, like you managed to carry on during the pandemic, you were still getting a roster out, and you know I want to know what UFC are doing right and what boxing's doing wrong.
Well, you know, it really comes down. This has been a big problem in boxing for many, many, many years. Okay, I love boxing. I've worked in boxing for over 30 years, managing my brother, you know, the great Michael Buffer, right? Legendary. Let's get ready. Rumble announcer, you know,
legends. Your brothers are legends.
Yes, absolutely, absolute legend. So, you know, back in the heyday of boxing in the late 80s, early 90s, late 90s, when every Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, we had De La Hoya, Hagler, Hearns, you know, it was great fighters every week, right? The problem with boxing is, and not that this isn't an issue in MMA because there's many different promoters of MMA, but the UFC is the NFL of MMA, right? It's the major league. Okay. It's the King Kong force. And like you said, the best fight the best, because the UFC has a huge roster of 500 more fighters, the finest fighters in MMA. And when they leave UFC, they'll fall into places like Bellator, with all respect, and the other places. But the best fight the best. But when you have different promoters from Top Rank and Golden Boy and Hearn, and all these different organizations, unless they make a deal with each other, the best don't fight the best, right? And now boxing, I know, is huge in the UK. It always will be. And let's face it, it's the Marcus of Queensberry rules of 2 weapons versus the UFC mixed martial arts of over 40 weapons, right? Like you said, protect your arse, right? And, with that being said, they're apples and oranges. It's 2 different fighting sports, and they need to be respected as such. But in boxing worldwide, where you'll fill Wembley Stadium with fighters that we're not even familiar with here in the US, as far as minor boxing fans, boxing is life and blood in the UK. But the UFC and mixed martial arts, I say this very believably so, factually so, is the biggest fighting sport in the world. Okay.
I agree, Bruce.
You have 2 or 3 huge boxing events a year. Canelo, right? Tyson Fury. It's a shame that they got canceled because of COVID. It'll be back on. Hopefully Tyson comes out of this 100%. Okay. But that's the thing, it's like promoters have to work together, where Dana White is the single King Kong promoter with all these great fighters underneath his aegis to be able to make these fights. And that's why we have these great fights every week. And we've had some amazing shows. It's been nonstop entertainment. And we were the first to come back in sports worldwide and show the world how to have an event with COVID. So we got a head start on everybody. And the way that the fights have been going, with Conor McGregor's fight against Poirier last weekend, that set a record, not the biggest record, but it was over 1.8 million pay-per-views, probably one of the top 10 pay-per-views of all time, top 20. We're just moving forward, But if you don't work together and you don't have the best fight the best, then you have personalities driving the sport. And one of the issues in boxing right now, with all respect to all boxers, is there's not a lot of personalities driving the sport. You've got Tyson Fury, you've got Canelo, but name me 10 top boxers that boxing fans around the world will relate to and want to watch their fight on Saturday.
Well, see, that's the thing, Bruce, because sorry. It's that, I've always had this kind of argument in terms of boxing-wise. You talk about personalities. Obviously, you come here quite a lot. You and your brother come here a lot. Anthony Joshua is massive here. Absolutely massive in UK.
He's big here too. He's big
here. But what's happened is that Tyson Fury, is based in my mind in this country in terms of it's from the impression I'm getting. He sees he's massive, United States than he is in the UK. But although there is a bit of a rivalry where there's Tyson Fury fans, Anthony Joshua fans, or both who are Fury and Joshua, and I think what you say does kind of resonate in terms of here, boxing is the god, and there are sort of personalities that. However,
also, Ken, sorry to jump in. I think it's the production. We'll bring it back in that. Look at the weekend. Look at the camera work, the focus when the fighter's in the ring, embedded the week before. What the UFC does on that show is absolutely fantastic. You get to see the fighters during the week, to the weigh-in, after the weigh-in, after the press conference. You don't get that in boxing. I've said this all along. When I first watched it in 2005, Ultimate Fighter 1, I struggled to find it on a channel in the UK. We found it on a channel. I think it was Challenge or Spike TV. I can't really remember what it was in the UK. And I had to watch it once a week. The fights weren't even live. I think it was pre-recorded and that. But we got to watch the final live. And since there to now, the production's unbelievable. You get to know the fans. Like Bruce, you get to know yourself. You get to hear your stories, your backstories. It's so fan-friendly. And that's where I think Dana and the UFC have bought it. When you go to these shows in Australia or to Dubai or to the UK, fans just flood it because they know that they're going to get the interaction with the people, the personalities, like we were saying. Bruce is correct. There's none in boxing. Let's get it real. Eddie Hearn's a big personality now, but he gets stick for it. In boxing, you get stick for it. In the UFC, they embrace it. And just I want to go back to Bruce. Them blazers or suit jackets you had on at the weekend, fantastic. I really love them. I enjoy seeing them. That emerald green, perfect for Conor McGregor, shall I say. I know you weren't doing it maybe for the Irish, but it worked well.
Let me comment on the jacket. and thank you for that. I mean, your UK son calls me a fashion icon, which I got a very big
You are.
Giggle laugh. Okay, if you want to say that, that's great. My tailor surprised me with that jacket. Usually I'm in the design efforts of all the jackets, and we're designing a new one for every pay-per-view. And when I got the green jacket, you have to understand, it wasn't that I was taking Connor's side. It's just that they were trying to mix it up for the event. So sure, we had the emerald green in there, and with all respect to the great fans of Ireland. But there was black involved. It was a money jacket. That was like,
oh, I love that.
No.
okay, that was a money event. That was a money jacket. And of course, people are going to think that I was wearing it for Connor. Listen, total respect to Connor, total respect to Poirier, but I do not take sides in fights. I'm an equal opportunity announcer, and I roar for each one equally. And that's the way it works. But I call that my money jacket. It just happened to be green.
It looked like a money jacket, Bruce. But also, what can I say? Was there wristbands with lights on for the fans? I saw that when I was watching it. The production.
Well, it's like what you're talking about. The UFC is so fan friendly, and this is one of the things. People say, well, okay, the fighters don't make 20 million. Well, they make millions of dollars, trust me. But, when you have a small group like Bob Arum's office that might have, a top rank might have 10 employees, give or take, let's say. The UFC has 500 employees, offices all around the world. They're putting on Fight Pass. They're making these documentaries. They're promoting the fights. All of the amount of money they spend to promote and make this happen. This is a major, major organization, and they're extremely fan friendly. Listen, fans need to know, they want to touch the fighters. They want to know what they eat for breakfast. They want to know what they do outside the octagon. They want to know what their private lives are like. And that's what the UFC is trying to give them. That's another reason that I created and co-founded a site you might have heard of recently called millions.co. I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
I've heard of that, Bruce. Yeah.
There's nothing like it out there. And the reason my co-founder partners and I did this is because I know branding and marketing the way the UFC does. Okay. I've helped brand and market the UFC in my 25 years being in it. I've done much more for the UFC than just be the Octagon announcer. I wanted to grow with them, but I wanted to help build the brand. Like I built the Let's Get Ready to Rumble brand into a $500 million brand, or the It's Time brand into where it's
Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we love that.
Exactly.
We love it. We love that.
I do too. Everything in life is branding and marketing, and fighters and athletes don't know how to brand and market themselves as a rule. Their managers do. So to segue, like the UFC helping the fighters, that's why I created millions.co. So a boxer who has maybe a few thousand followers on Instagram or whatever, or 500,000 followers, they don't have to wait till that clothing company says, here's a bunch of money, here's a big clothing deal, you'll get 10% of sales. That's what happens, right? Yeah. We give 80% of the profits back to the fighters. We'll instantly create a merchandise line for them. We'll give them ways to interact with their fans where they can ask them questions and they can watch events like Joe Rogan's Fight Companion and charge a little bit of coin and make money. I want the fighters to make money and monetize themselves all year long, not just when they fight on fight night. Their careers are very short-lived as a rule. So we're taking all athletes, footballers, soccer players, you name it, at millions.co, and that's what we're doing. And that's kind of what the UFC does for their fighters. They're helping brand them. They're getting them out there. I have so much respect for boxers and fighters and all athletes, and I want to do everything I can to help them make the money they definitely need to make. I want every fighter to make $1 million when they put their blood, sweat, and tears on the line walking in.
That's one thing. Oh, sorry, Bruce. That's one thing I love about you. You're all about fairness and for the fighters, and that's exactly with me. When I do the watch-alongs, all these lives when we do the boxing or the UFC, I'm all about the fighters because I know what they put in. They put in that training, that hard work, that sacrifice to be away from their loved ones, and just the hard work that they put in. And I just think they should always get the utmost respect when they get in the ring. And I love the beautiful respect. We didn't get out the weekend with Conor and Dustin. That's a different side of the game that we see. Yeah. But emotions run high like that. Joe Rogan on the side of the octagon, that was a first for me. But look, this is what it is. It's personalities, it's talking points. But the fairness to the fighters, like you say, getting the sponsorship, the right brand deals. I totally agree with you, Bruce, because the last thing they need to worry about is all that when they're stepping into that octagon, when you're putting your life on the line. And you're so fantastic at it, getting them pumped for it. The way, your presentation, it's a skill in its own, and it's a skill that I look forward to. For that fight at the weekend, I knew that it was going to be electric, and you're a key element to that. And I just think that the UFC could definitely be top of the combat sport for the next 50 years at least.
It will be. I mean, I'm 64 now, so I'll be around another 10 or 15. But at the same time, every night I go out there to prove myself. Every night's my first night. I have to prove I deserve this job, and I throw my passion on the floor. Somebody once said Michael's like a fine bottle of Bordeaux when he announces, and I'm like a shot of Jack Daniels. Okay, so
Oh yes,
I used to bang. I mean, I banged a lot of my life. You know, I know I have a fighter mentality. I understand what it takes, and I just want to enhance that moment for those fighters and the fans as much as I can. And the moment my passion wanes and I can't do what I do physically and verbally, you know, in the octagon, then you'll hear I'm going to retire. I'm not just going to go in for a paycheck and a seat. I do this because I love it and because I love what I do.
Exactly, Bruce, and you do a great job. And I know, not to get on the wrong side, I've seen your interview when you've been in with Frank Trigg. We know what's happened there, so I know you can look after yourself. And look, there's no trouble from us tonight, Bruce. No trouble, don't worry.
No
but
worries.
Also, look,
we're not in an elevator. We're not in an elevator.
No, thank God we're not in an elevator.
I heard about that one.
Hey,
yes.
It's real simple, mate. And I know the UK. I know you guys will throw down at a drop of a hat. The bottom line is, don't put your hands on me. I don't care who you are.
Exactly. Would you be able to, for our UK fans, Bruce, would you be able to just quickly, for a few minutes, just briefly explain how you and Michael come to meeting each other when you were 29? Was you 29 at the time?
Yeah, I was like 28 or 29. And at the time, you know, Tyson was happening and all the great fights in the late 80s. And out came this, my dad and I were watching boxing right out of the womb. My dad had me watching boxing. He was teaching me boxing, teaching me fighting techniques at an early age. He was a Marine drill instructor that taught hand-to-hand combat and served in World War II in Korea. You know, the old breed, right? The most powerful, greatest generation of all. And so we watched boxing all the time. And out came this, you know, very handsome, debonair, James Bond looking individual saying, let's get ready to rumble. And just in such a way that we never saw announcers do. And I became a fan. But then when they put his name on the screen, it said Buffer. And I'm like, who is this guy? Right? Because I owned telemarketing companies in my 20s. And before the internet, I looked in every phone book and I never saw my name in a phone book. I started researching and calling Don King's offices and Bob Arum's offices and finding out, you know, who he was, where he lived. And he lived near me, where I grew up in Philadelphia. And people started coming up to me and saying, hey, is that your brother that goes, let's get ready to rumble? I'm like, no, my brother's Brian, the man I grew up with. So long story cut short, I'm driving with my dad one day saying, Dad, all these people are coming up to me and everything I just said to you. And I said, do you know who this guy is? And he looked at me, he goes, I think that's your brother.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
Wow.
And I said, Dad, what are you talking about? Son, you know, I've been married to your mom for, 35 plus years. And I never told you, that during World War II, before I went overseas, I was 20 and I was married. I got married. And when I was overseas for 9 months, I came back and a child was born and a divorce ensued. And the last time he saw that child when he was 2.5. And then as Michael was doing an event here in California, I had my dad call the small arena and Michael called him back. He left a message for him and they got together for lunch. And it turned out to be my long lost half brother and his son. And then we got together and
crazy.
I owned 2 companies. I was making a lot of money in beach house and living in, a 2.5 men Charlie Sheen lifestyle minus the alcoholism. Right. And
yes,
I was loving life, but I was burned out. I didn't like what I did. I was just burned out. Didn't matter how much money. And I told Michael that I wanted to quit and sell both companies and trademark these 5 words of air and manage him and become his partner and build his brand. And that was the start of everything. I rolled the dice, quit with the money I had in the bank and rolled the dice. And we grew together as business partners and as brothers. And that's been almost 30 years now. And
it's like a fighter's mentality. Like you said, Bruce, you took that risk, high risk for the high reward. And like you said, you rolled that dice.
It's like Tom Cruise said in that movie, Risky Business. Sometimes you got to say, what the F, you just got to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And look, it will all work out for the best because look at you now. You got your brother Michael, who's a boxing legend announcer. You got Bruce, yourself, who's the UFC announcer. Yeah. 2 of the biggest combat sports in the world. It's like the perfect power, like the perfect power brothers, really, aren't you? There's no one bigger or better than you doing what you're doing. So it worked well.
You'll never hear me say that, but I really appreciate your kind words. I'm very humble about everything. And if that's, we get that a lot and I love it. I love hearing it, but I'm no better than anybody else. I mean, you want to announce against me, I'm going to beat you. Right. But I consider everybody equal. I treat everybody with respect. Everybody.
Could I ask you a question? I saw that your brother, this is only going to your brother, but I know you're your brother's manager. I just want to get your aspect because this would work for you as well. I saw Michael doing the TikTok versus YouTube card. And I know a lot of people have a lot of input, whether they think they agree with it or not. From both of you, if you get asked to do that sort of situation, to you, is it because you're entertainers and it's work? Do you just see it as that? Or do you just think sometimes you got to think about the the opportunity or the project you're doing before you do it?
It's all of the above. I always look, managing Michael and bringing things to him, or when they come to us, it's about what's right and what's not right. And in that case, you're not dealing with professional boxing. You're dealing with exhibition boxing. You're dealing with entertainment. You're dealing with a money grab by the promoters. That show did not do well, from what I hear. But then you've got the Logan Pauls, and you've got the Jake Pauls, and you've got the influencers out there. Let's face it, boxing fans are dying off. Okay, they're falling off. They're not coming in youth. The good thing about this is at least it'll bring young eyeballs into the sport, as a Logan Paul will bring millions of young eyeballs that would never turn on a boxing event to watch boxing, and hopefully a percentage of them will continue to watch boxing.
Sorry to cut in. One of our biggest worries about these YouTubers, and it's a personal experience, because you mentioned earlier about the fighters, and how about making sure they get more money in their pocket. I see these from a boxing fan. I see people like KSI, Logan Paul, Jake Paul. I see them as Philistines to the sport, because I think that they're taking money out of a hard-working fighter's mouth. Because I think what's happening is that the thing about it is, like, I've seen with YouTube, where a lot of YouTube channels get a lot of subscribers because that YouTuber has actually appeared on a KSI channel or a Logan Paul channel, so they've got an extra 300,000 subscribers. Or let me not exaggerate too much. 60,000 subscribers. But what's happened is that doesn't normally translate into views. And my biggest concern is these guys who are coming into the sport are only coming to the sport for them. They're not followers of boxing. They're followers of KSI, Logan Paul, and Jake Paul. And then as soon as they're not, then what will happen? We're still going to go back to the situation where boxing's dying.
That's business, though, Ken. That's business.
Yeah, but that's business, and I understand what you're saying. That's what I was saying too. Again, it's business. You're turning it on to them. They either get into the beautiful art of boxing and they watch more of it, but this is where personalities need to drive the sport of boxing. Personalities drive sports. We need personalities, and usually the heavyweights are the ones that do that in boxing, that bring the sport to the forefront. They'll tune in and they'll watch that, and hopefully there's a couple other good boxing professional bouts on the card to appreciate it. But it's all up to the branding and marketing of the promoters and the fighters themselves to hold those people. At least boxing's being talked about more than ever now as a result of that, right? You have an event coming up in the UK soon, whether it's been announced or not, where you're going to have reality stars in the UK fighting each other. Okay.
I've not heard that. That's an exclusive, Bruce.
I heard when that this is going to happen, and everybody's thinking about this. It goes back to when Fox had celebrity boxing 15-20 years ago, and it got 15+ share ratings on TV, which no TV show gets unless you're in the top 5 or 10. Okay, it's if personalities can drive sports, influencers will drive people to watch stuff. Whether it brings people into the art and beauty of boxing, it remains to be seen. But I will say that your youth today, 75% of all males 18 to 34 are fans of the UFC in the United States. It's huge. It's huge.
It's huge over here as well. BT Sport does a great job over here with it. And I know that Ariel Hawani, I don't know if he's I know him and Dana had a few issues, but I follow Ariel quite a lot, as I'm a big fan of doing this. And he's a great asset to BT Sport.
He's a great asset. I was on a show when he was in college. We've been friends since he was in college. And you know what?
I love that guy.
More power to Ariel. He does a great job. His and Dana's feuds are his and Dana's feuds. That is nothing
exactly
perception.
But he does a great job. And also the Smo. I follow the Smo. He's doing some great stuff at the moment. I know at the beginning it was a novelty act, but he does a great job. He's fantastic at what he does.
He's fantastic. He just joined millions.co. He's coming into Millions. We're branding the Schmo.
Yeah, and look, he's going to be a hit. He will be a hit. He's great to be branded.
Yep.
And one more question, Bruce, before you go. We know that your time's very precious. Just from the fans, are you a fan of WWE? It's a few questions we had in. Are you a fan? Because over here, it's love or hate. I'm a big fan of WWE. Followed it my whole life. But just from your perspective, is that something that you're a fan of or not?
I'm a fan. I appreciate it. I'm not a fan that I can name everything going on. I don't watch all the shows, but I used to work on the WCW with Michael when he was announcing WCW and going to
my man,
Hulk Hogan and everything. When I went to those shows and I'm in the back and I saw, like Hulk and Sting and Goldberg, okay, you do this, and I'll finish this.
They're wrestlers.
And then they get out there and they do their show and they get hurt. They're not fighting for real.
It's performing arts.
They're performing art. It's sports entertainment. But the bottom line is that, like, guys like Bas Rutten, the great MMA fighter, when he went to Japan and did entertainment wrestling, he said, I got hurt more doing entertainment wrestling than I got when I was fighting. They do a show every week, 50 shows a year. This is a real heavy job on the road all the time. I have tremendous respect for the wrestling world. And again, it's entertainment, right? If they ever came to me and said, hey, we want you to do a one-off, I'd have a blast if I walked into the WWE ring, and I'd let it fly. Michael loves wrestling. He loved doing that. So again, I don't ever compare and together. I respect everything individually. So yeah, no, I'm a fan, but you don't talk about, I can't name everybody. Right. So, but yeah,
no,
it's been around.
That's a great answer.
It's another form of entertainment, gentlemen. Hey,
no, that's a great answer.
I'm going to be releasing a big product in the UK very soon. I'm going to give you guys the first look at it. You ready for this?
Yes.
Get ready to hear the announcement. I have created the finest, most natural energy drink known to man. All natural. If you're vegan, if you're gluten-free or whatever, athletes can drink this and not be flagged by USADA or whatever. And this is not like the other drinks that have the taurine and, all the stuff that's not good for you in them. So you could probably figure out what it's called. It's Time Energy.
Oh, Bruce, I'm going to use my branding brain. Do you want to sponsor the channel? We could be a sponsor for you. We could do it. We can get it out there for you.
My company that makes this is based in London, is based in the UK. You're going to hear a lot about this. Right?
Time Energy.
Fantastic.
It's unreal. If you can see it real close.
Yeah, I'll take it there. Have a look at it now.
Yeah.
Now I'll show you something else.
It's time. Let's send it back.
Oh, wait. You got my mug on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can see it, Bruce.
It's pretty fantastic. And you don't crash. You take this, you get all the energy, but you don't crash down, right? We've spent a year putting this formula together. It's going to be worldwide, all over the world. It's a huge project. So expect this in the next month in the UK.
Well, I was at Pep Talk. We're happily promote it for you. Get out there, Bruce. You're a fantastic guy. I've had a great time speaking to you. Hopefully, because I've got so much I want to talk to you about. Hopefully in the future we can get you back on a little bit longer, and that'd be an absolute honour, because I've got so much I'd like to speak to you about anyway. And obviously we've got other people like Joe and people on the channel that would like to speak to you as well, and it'd just be an absolute honour. So thanks for coming on today. And can we get in it's time before the end, if you can?
Absolutely. Before I do, I'm going to plug one more thing that I do for the fans. Okay. This is a very passionate project on my partner Kristen's and my part, but at brucebuffer.com, and of course I'm on Cameo. I know you've heard of Cameo back in the UK.
Yep.
But at brucebuffer.com and Cameo, we give special offers for championship introductions, like you're being introduced as a champion in the cage, weddings, birth of babies, you name it. So we get tears in our eyes from the thank you notes we get back from the fans that we do these for. And we started out small, and I give the partial proceeds to animal, military, and children's charities. So if you want to be announced like a champion, I can do it on Cameo, or you can go to brucebuffer.com. And I love doing this. I got to do like 10 of them as soon as I'm done with this, with our interview.
That's fantastic, though, Bruce.
Yeah,
that's what we say. It's for the people and for the fans, and that's why people love you, because they can see the warmth and what you give back to people. And that's what I love about the sports and that. And that's why look, you're fantastic. It's not always about the fighters. They get the respect because they're putting their lives on the line. But people like you, Joe Rogan, you're like the wallpaper. You're like the paint. You're there constantly, and you're what people are looking for. So just keep up the great work. And your brother, you're both a team. There's no one that comes close. I don't even know anyone that's going to take over from you two. And it's a hard job if they do. But keep up the great work, Bruce. And also to your brother, give him our respect. And keep up the great work
for us.
I promise I will. And thank you so much for all your kind words. And now, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for Pep Talk.
Oh, cheers, Bruce. You've made our day. Thank you, Bruce, so much. And everybody, look out for the drink. It's time. The energy drink from Bruce Buffer himself.
Exclusive.
Check it out in your stores. Exclusive, yeah, an exclusive. And thank you for the time, Bruce. And we'll speak soon, and we'll get you back on the channel.
Thank you so much. Cheers, mates. Be good. Stay healthy.
Have a great day.
Stay safe.
You too. Stay safe. Thank you.
Stay safe, mate.
Bye, gentlemen.
Cheers. Oh, Ken, what a legend. What a legend.
You know what? You know, when he puts it like that, you know, it just shows, you know, like the organisation of the, you know, the UFC, how it started, and you know how much he's putting into the sport as well. You know, like I said, it's not just a job to him. He loves the sport and he wants it to be the best promotion ever. And you know, getting that, you know, announcement was fantastic, and plugging you know, like his an exclusive on here. So yeah, this is
we'll be trying them out in the shops, won't we, Ken? Especially like you said, it's based in London where his drink's being made.
Well, yeah, I'll be able to get it. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try it out. But you know, it's just nice to have that sort of feedback, because again, in terms of someone like me who's a boxing fan, you know, I know a lot about the sport, not just like the fighters, but the business behind it. It's not too dissimilar to what. But what's happening is that in terms of UFC, they're not waiting around. They're in a rush, but in a rush for the right reasons. In terms of like, they understand their public, and I think that's where Eddie Hearn is trying to copy the UFC, because one of the things that Mike mentioned was 18 to 35 in the US are UFC fans in the US. So basically, it's a younger person's market. So the things you were talking about, storylines. You know, we're not just hearing about the waves, but hearing a storyline. That's some, you know, like when you watch Sky, sometimes just a week before the fight, they have the sort of a documentary about the fights. They're on BT. But what's happening is we're not seeing enough of them. We want to be seeing all of those storylines. You know, like a story. Oh, what his family life, how he trains, and everything. And I think that's what we do get with UFC. And I've seen a lot of that on their website, and I've seen it on BT Sport. But you know, Eddie Hearn's probably looked over at what the UFC is doing, and he wants to replicate that. But it seems as well with in terms of Mike, he's got, you know, how to say it, creative partnership and control alongside you know, Dana White in a way that Eddie probably wasn't getting with Sky, and you know, maybe Frank doesn't get, which probably Eddie wants to have with the Zone. So I think maybe if we look at the Zone is probably going to be like a not too dissimilar to what we're getting in terms of UFC, in terms of production and everything. So, you know, the next few weeks in terms of fight camp are going to be very interesting.
Oh, exactly. And look, first of all, look. Exactly. Everyone, get your likes into the video and get your subscribes in. We want to get to 20K as soon as possible. But yeah, Ken, that's why I wanted you on tonight. We chat earlier in the day and you were like, oh, it's mostly UFC. Or, do you want to do it on your own? And I said, no. Look, there's always time to grow and learn. Look, you learn something new every day, and I'd rather you come on here, speak to the legend himself, Bruce, and get some insight. And like you just said then, you got a little bit of an insight of what they're doing differently to boxing that's making people go to the UFC. And that's why I wanted you on tonight, because look, you were able to see that. You're able to see the differences. And I think it sounds horrible, but when people like Bob Arum's not around and Shelley Finkel and that's when times will change, because these people have been in the game for 30, 40, 50 years, and they're not going to change. Eddie now going with the Zone, he's going to a streaming platform. He's looking for that change. But until things happen like that, it's an awful, awful set of politics boxing's in. And the UFC, that's why you're getting like nothing standing in the way. If number one don't want to fight number two, Dana says number one will fight number three. Do you know what I mean? It's like that. And number three wants that opportunity.
Exactly. You know, like I said, you got a similar situation, right? You know, people are jockeying to take Tyson Fury's place to fight Deontay Wilder, because as far as I'm concerned, Deontay Wilder's fight ready, because, you know, he's meant to be fighting, you know, Saturday, you know, in about 9 days' time. So, yes, there is, I do fully subscribe to that, what the UFC are doing. There's no waiting around for everyone. The public come first. And I think that's what's happening with boxing. We're not coming first, the public. We're not coming first. It seems like the fighters, rightly so, the fighters are the be and end or everything. But it seems that it's TV stations promoted then the fighters, and the public, we just have to fit in when we can. Like, for instance, we haven't got a solid announcement, you know, for the Joshua fight with, you know, Usyk. I've told my wife we're going to go to the fight. Yeah, but we just want to know when the tickets are out.
Yeah, when is it? When is it? Yeah, exactly.
It's not, I've told you it's non-negotiable. You know, so I'm I said, I don't care. We'll find the way, but we're going. We deserve this. But I want to know what I'm going to go to, because, yeah.
You're going to Headingley? That's been announced. Head and leader ticket prices have come out today.
Yeah, see, the thing is, the temptation is there, but the problem is that because of my Arsenal season ticket, you know, I've got to look at the fixtures and see what they'll do. But again, I'm not messing about as well because, you know, I've missed out so much of spectator sport because I took boxing for granted before the pandemic, you know. And, you know, if I look at it, you know, through the sort of a fan's eyes, we weren't really getting that much entertainment anyway before the pandemic. Yes, Anthony Joshua retained his title against Andy Ruiz Jr. Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder hands down. But apart from that, it wasn't that entertaining before. And I think, you know, with the pandemic, maybe people just have to count to 10 and just think again about the sport because we're seeing UFC and we need to get these numbers up in boxing. I don't want a situation. I want 18 to 35-year-olds to be interested in boxing. I want them to get buy Sky. I don't want, you know, buy a Sky subscription, get a BT subscription, get a design subscription. But I want them to be talking about the sport. I don't want to be, you know, talking about, you know, a big fight that's coming up because I hear young people nowadays and all they talking about is UFC. That's all they do.
Well, look at the celebrities at the weekend. They had so many celebrities. Yeah, you had Donald Trump in the crowd. You had so many people. Yeah. That used to be boxing back in the day. Yeah, at the boxing events, you had everyone.
Isn't Ferret Poirier a good big fan of? Didn't he endorse Donald Trump? Didn't he, Poirier?
No. That was Kobe Covington. But Trump's good friends with that. He's good friends with Dana White. But what I'm saying is, them sort of characters are going to them events. It used to be boxing back in the day. You'd see them all in the front row, like It's what I feel, Ken. When I've done the watch along, I've done the UFC watch along at the weekend, and I was speaking to a few fans in the US of A, and what they were saying was they had to pay £80 for that UFC event at the weekend. That's the same as what they pay for the boxing pay-per-views. So that in our money, that would have been 50 quid for that event at the weekend. That was over double what I paid over here in the UK. That's the price plan in America where they're going wrong, and that's not helping boxing either because they're trying to. Yeah. They're losing the fans over there. One thing with Eddie Hernan over here, $1.99 at the moment. I guarantee it won't be more than. I think it'll be $9.99 when the zone does go up. I don't think it'll be more than that. And that's fair.
To that as well.
That's fair.
For now, it's fair. But again, Eddie's under a lot of pressure now because if he's going to model himself and what the UFC are doing, we have to see. We have to get regular access. Access to the fighters, and hopefully we'll know now because the other day it's the first fight camp is in about 2 weeks' time. So that's when we should be building up, and I think I'm really looking forward to it because the other day I'm up for it because the simple reason is that fight camp last year was a godsend. I absolutely loved it, and as much as Dillian White's my favourite heavyweight, what a climax to the last fight. You know, we didn't see it coming, did we? August was it? August 13th, 2020. Katie Taylor fought Pursuit. She won comfortably.
Another great fight.
The main event, Dillian White, we thought he was going to win. You know what I mean? And then what happened?
It was very eerie because normally when you got a full house, it goes silent. But it was already silent that day. So, your headphones are gone. What I was saying, Ken, was normally when you have a big knockout like that, a shock, the crowd go quiet. But where it was already quiet, it made it even more eerie because you heard the impact of the punch, and it was a huge shock. But look, everybody like the video, subscribe to Pep Talk UK. Look, Ken, like you said earlier, reaction to Fury Wilder 3, rescheduled to the 9th of October. Fans, get your questions in, get your theories in. Did Fury have COVID? Was there a ploy? Was the ticket sales not very good? So they delayed it to October the 9th. Joseph Parker was seen at the UFC event at the weekend. Deleted footage was then taken down because obviously no one wanted to know. Is he meant to be isolating? When was this COVID? There's not really been any announcement. And when there's a big fight like this and everyone's waiting and boxing is standing still, what do you think, Ken? Do you think they should clarify, come out and say, Tyson's definitely got it, he hasn't got it? what his condition's like or what the state of the guy is at the moment. Because look, a lot of people love Tyson. It's a serious matter if he has got COVID. We lost Ken there. I'm sure he'll come back on. But yeah, anyone there in the comments, what are your theories about Tyson Fury and Wilder being rescheduled for October the 9th? And is the stories true? Are the theories correct? What is going on? There's not really been any clarification of the condition of Tyson at the moment. We've got the rescheduled date. That's fantastic. Hopefully this happens. I don't know what's happened. It's like, I don't know. It's just where boxing's all over the place at the moment with the politics and that. Boxing takes another couple of steps backwards. We've not really had a date for Usyk versus Joshua at the moment, which everyone's looking forward to in the UK. Now that Full Houses has been put out there, but full attendance, shall I say? Sorry. So look, there's some big things happening. We got Lara versus Warrington. That's been arranged for Headingley. Katie Taylor. That's a big fight night. There's some big stuff happening in boxing. We just need boxing to get a bit of momentum going, a bit of rhythm, because it's just been so static this year. We had a great start to the year. We had Canelo, Billy Joe Saunders. What a fight that was. Josh Taylor, Ramirez. Boxing was on kind of a little mini roll, I thought, at the first quarter of the year. Going into the middle of the year, it's completely nosedived, and it's really, really difficult as a fan and being so passionate about boxing to get beyond anything, because even when something's announced, you don't even feel like you can get beyond it because you're not even sure if it's even going to happen. So, look, there's some big stuff in the boxing world that's happening at the moment, and we just need to realise sooner or later what is going on in the world of boxing at the moment. So, yeah, let's find out what's going on, see if there's anything going to happen in the next near future. I'm not sure if Kenny's coming back on at the moment, but if he's not, then we can carry on talking for a little while longer. And that we also had Bruce Buffer on the show earlier. Please go back and check it out. What a legend, UFC legend. Great honour for myself to speak to him. Great to get Kenny on to get that insight.
Yeah.
He's back. He's back.
I heard everything. Yeah, what's happening? It just tapped out for 2 seconds. But, you know, before we spoke, the situation in terms of Tyson Fury, he doesn't have to have COVID. But so if someone within his circle, within his training camp, doesn't have
that's
COVID,
what I mean. We need it clarified.
So yes, I say so. It doesn't. So Bob Arum has said Tyson Fury contacted COVID because they're saying that he had his first jab, but he didn't want to take his second jab too close to the second fight. He said it will make him ill. So Bob Arum is saying he contacted COVID. But what we're seeing is that people are having their pictures taken with Tyson Fury when he was going shopping, but we don't know what dates they are. Was it what dates were? Whatever's happened, the fight has been postponed to the
But Joseph Parker was out at 264, Ken. That's Saturday. Yes. You can't lie about that. So what's the isolation going on? It just needs to be clarified that who's got it, how long the isolation date was, because it could have ended by then. And he just hasn't got enough time to train for the 24th, which is totally understandable. You might have missed 10 days training.
Well, again, so if Tyson Fury is out shopping when he's meant to be isolating, and if Joseph Parker is attending the Fury fight and he's a close member of that bubble in terms of getting Fury ready for the fight, then the question needs to ask is that, again, you're giving succor to the theory that Eddie Hearn mentioned. Poor ticket sales. You know, can't get a TV partner. Because remember, we you know, it's irrelevant now. BT was not guaranteed TV partner. And Frank Warren was strangely silent about that, considering, Tyson Fury is allegedly, not allegedly, factually, in the UK, his TV partner is, BT Sports. So we weren't getting good vibes from there. So if we're going to jump to conclusions, then there's poor ticket sales. But why is there poor ticket sales? Who's not promoting the fight properly? Who's not doing their job properly? Who's not going out there? Perhaps, Deontay Wilder's, vow of silence didn't help ticket sales.
Yeah. No, look, Ken, it could be a number of reasons. I think what the fans want is just a little bit of clarity, just to see, if who did have it, how long the isolation date was. Because, like I said, the isolation could be over now. You might have just missed 2 weeks training, and when it's that close to a fight, it has to be pushed back. Where it's just been there's been COVID contracted, not really much echoed on that. I think people are just then making their own conclusions. I think if someone come out and just said, look, this was the time that it was that it happened A, Y, and Z. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just all these. I think people would be more relaxed. But as I was saying while you were disconnected, boxing needs to get on a rhythm now. It's gone so stale that it's like completely flat. We had Canelo, Billy Joe Saunders, Taylor Ramirez, a great first quarter to the year, and we thought fantastic. And then once the Fury AJ thing got shut completely down, it's gone completely flat. It's ridiculous.
It's because of that, though. It's because of that. Because what's happened is that all boxing fans, you know, were led to us put in a situation where every promoter, every boxing body in terms of like the council, put all their eggs into one basket, which was the Tyson Fury Joshua fight, and that's all that we're talking about. We had situations where boxing councils were stepping aside, you know, delaying their mandatories for having a go at the title by saying, right, that's it, you pay us off, blah blah. Everything was in place. This is the undisputed. We already had an agreement, you know, like I said, hype agreement that it was going to be on BT Sport and Sky. The reason why we know that is because Eddie Hearn said so, and this was agreed. We knew it was going to be a shared TV coverage in the United States, so everything was in place. So basically, every boxing fan had to do was just put, you know, like their plans on hold, keep your diaries free, because we were going to get Joshua versus Fury, or Fury versus Joshua. Depends what's, you know, spectrum on the scale you are in terms of support fighter you want to go. Sorry, let me get my words out. It depends on which fighter you support and which fighter you think is a favourite. So if you want to say the A side is Fury, then fair enough. You could, and then B side be Joshua. If you want the B side to be Fury and an A side Joshua, fair enough. You go along with that. But as far as we were concerned, both of them are going to get equal slice of the cake, you know. And then we're going to have this world tour. So there's no surprise that boxing's got
back on it, Ken. Is it penciled in? That world tour still penciled in, is it?
Well, it depends. But all I'm trying to say is that there is a void now, because once again, all the heavyweight fighters, because, you know, we're saying the heavyweight division is a very strong division, but they're going, oh, so all of a sudden they now have to try and get their fights made now, because they know that hypothetically there isn't going to be a Joshua Fury fight this calendar year, so they basically got a free roster up until, you know, January or February next year, if it happens. So again, these poor boxers who basically had to put their lives on hold because of this fight. And I did say that. Remember you did. I did say that this fight was obscene because it's affecting other boxers from getting their shot at the title, and other boxers making fights because everyone's put their eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
I said that the careers of Deontay Wilder is on hold. The careers of Dillian White is on hold because of these two guys. Now, that's
what we don't like. We want to kick all that out. That's what we were saying earlier with the UFC. You want, if Dillian White wasn't fighting a Fury or a Wilder, number 4, like an Andy Ruiz, it should be made like that. Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't. Their careers shouldn't be stalled, shall I say? Sorry, because of politics. Like we've heard with Gervonta Davis and Floyd Mayweather, they're only going to fight PBC fighters. That's not good for boxing. Exactly. That is not great. And before I go any further, Ken, let me just say, everyone, like the video, subscribe to Pep Talk UK, and I've got a few comments from the fans here, Ken. We'll throw your way. We've got Shariz, we've got Haydar Mahmood saying Shiraz versus Fowler ordered by the British Board of Control, final eliminated for the British title. So that's a fight for the British fans we can look forward to. 100%. We've got Star Fox. Yeah, we've got Star Fox McLeod 213 saying waiting on Canelo to announce his next fight. Caleb Plant looks like favourite for that. We've also got Manny Pacquiao Spence to look forward to, Ken. What's your thoughts on that? Give me an idea. What are you feeling about a 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao against a young lion, Errol Spence Jr.? We saw what he done to Kell Brook. We've seen what he's done to his other opponents. What do you think the outcome of that fight's going to be?
Errol Spence Jr. should win comfortably because he's a live fighter. Manny Pacquiao, I see this. He's a spent force in the fight. But then again, because it's Manny Pacquiao, you don't know what's going to happen.
No, it's true. We saw that 2 years. Was it 2 years ago when he fought the previous unbeaten Keith Thurman? Exactly. Everyone thought, wow, Keith Thurman's the man to avoid. No one wanted to fight him. He was beating everyone. I think what did help Pacquiao, that I don't think Thurman fought for about 18 months to 2 years before that, which kind of helped him. But you know, with Manny Pacquiao, he's one of them fighters on any night, he could probably turn anyone over. Obviously, he's been out of the ring for a little while, but them hand speed looks good. But I agree with you. I feel I'm a massive Manny fan. I don't want any disrespect to Manny here, but I feel Errol Spence is bigger, younger, more powerful. A prime Manny Pacquiao beats a prime Spence for me, but they're at different levels. They're at different times of their career. The journey for Manny's up here, and Errol's still down here on the way up. So yeah, I believe at this moment in time, Spence will win. What I don't want to see is a brutal knockout. Remember Pacquiao Marquez?
When Jesus Christ, he fell face forward, because he.
Yeah, I don't want to see one of them.
Yeah, but I think the thing with Errol Spence Jr. Can only lose this fight is because if he doesn't train hard enough, if he isn't prepared to go in those championship rounds, then he is gonna be primed for an upset. And that's why you've got to take this fight very, very seriously. And if it means, fighting Manny Pacquiao on reputation, and crack on with it, because that's what a champion should do. But
also, he's a gentleman. You can't fault him. You're not gonna get fans wanting him to lose because he's 40 or they're gonna say he's over it. I think Manny's earned the respect from all fight fans that if he wants to give this a go at 40. Here we go. Got a comment here. He ain't got COVID. This is going back to Tyson Fury and the delayed Wilder.
If Tyson Fury hasn't got COVID, then someone within his circle must have COVID. So if someone within his circle's got COVID and they're from part of that bubble, then Tyson Fury will be amongst the people we're going to have to isolate. So it's still a farcical situation, and it still ranks of disorganisation.
Another comment here, Ken. Do you want to read this comment out? I'll let you go with this one as you're already on it at the moment.
Fury doesn't have COVID. He is in Las Vegas buying high class cars. That's what I heard as well. That was that was a story that was going out a couple of days ago. Again, it's one of those things. It's a farce. And unfortunately, with Tyson Fury, Tyson Fury is a great fighter and should be a great champion. But things like farcical situations like this do follow him. It's not a good look. It's not a good look where you're telling everyone you want to fight Anthony Joshua. The fight is definitely going to be on. Yet you conveniently forget to mention to the public. You may have mentioned it to Joshua, but but to the public, that there was this court case arbitration case hanging over Deontay Wilder, and there was a good chance that you had to be forced to fight Wilder because you're telling the public, "Oh, forget him. He's missed the thing. He's missed the deadline. I won't fight him. He's been telling lies about me, blacking my name. He's missed his chance. He's not. I've already beaten Joyce." That's not good enough, because what's happening right now is that you've delayed people's careers. And don't get me wrong. I'm not just going after you or Frank Warren and who I say Frank Warren and Aaron. Joshua's part of this problem as well, because again he should have done his homework. He's not just because again he's held back for fighters' careers. Poor old Joe Joyce, right? He had to be penciling with fight. As far as he was concerned, he was going to get a shot at Usyk. But now he's got to put his career on hold. Let's not talk about Dillian White as well. And this is not good enough.
Sorry, Ken. I think Usyk, just going to Usyk while you mentioned him, I think he was the one who played the best poker hand. He didn't rush into that fight with Joe Joyce. He stayed well away from it, held back, because that fight could have been made any time. They wasn't just relying on that, because it could have been for the interim title regardless. But he played the perfect poker hand where he said, "No, I'm going to sit back and wait till that contract signed, and then I'll make my move." And look, it worked out well for Usyk. He's going to be fighting in front of a full house at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, somewhere where I'm sure you're going to enjoy watching that fight, Ken, as an Arsenal fan.
I'll love to. I'll bring some disinfectants and make sure you.
Bit of nastiness, Ken. Bit of nastiness. No, enough of that.
It's Tottenham, but on a serious level, where's the confirmation? Eddie Hearn said it's on Sky. We're very close. How's close, mate? How's close? In about 2 weeks' time, it's going to be, the beginning of August. We need to be getting these tickets out, getting these sales out. Come on, get a move on. What are you not telling us?
It's a bit weird with Eddie because normally he's premature with announcements. With this one, it's like it's been and gone. Like, to me, I actually thought it was already announced, Ken. Not that there's been a formal one, but I thought, oh, it's already in the books, ready to go. But there hasn't been an announcement.
Well, I don't see any reason why they can't announce it because, you know, we all know that the Kraken is going with a cheap Team GB. You know, Team GB, you know, the Olympics is starting as soon as. You know, by the time the Olympics finished, there's still going to be in time for, you know, them to resume their training. So, you know, the date, the 25th of September, is ample time to get this done.
Also, I think from Fury, though, Ken, sorry, I believe that it will be announced this week because I feel like that they were then waiting for the announcement of the rescheduled Wilder date. And I reckon it's clever by Fury because if you remember when Anthony Joshua fought Andy Ruiz the first time when he got beat, Fury was fighting a month or two after, wasn't he, in September? The pressure was really on AJ. And then for this fight, the pressure was on Fury because he was before AJ. And now they flipped it back round to the pressure's back on AJ because he's up first. That could, do you know what I'm saying? Because if Fury was going to go first, the pressure was on him to put his name down for that Fury AJ fight. Now it's AJ's job first to make sure that he's definitely going to make that fight happen. Because if not, obviously it's going to be a rematch with Usyk straight away. So I think that's clever by Bob Arum and that to do it 2 weeks after the Anthony Joshua fight because that's meant to be, is it the 27th of September?
Yeah, it's the 25th of September. So 2 weeks time, and the pay-per-view, Las Vegas, 8th and 9th of October. So that's a bit of a, nearly 3 months. Well, just over 2 months before a scheduled rematch to give everyone enough time. So yeah, it is a clever move. But then again, you know, loads of factors, loads of theories have to take into consideration. Are the public in the United States interested in the fight? And if
we'll find out.
Yeah, because they're not interested in the fight, then why don't you bring the fight here? I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll make more sales.
It'll make more money here. Do you know what? Why don't you get on a plane, mate? Come, why if Tyson Fury is as popular as I believe he is, well, come and prove it. There's loads of
Old Trafford. Venues. I think Tyson Fury would sell out Old Trafford.
He
would sell that out.
He's a
he would sell that out.
He was brought up in South Manchester, even though he lives in Morecambe now. Bring it here.
Exactly.
Why does everything have to be in the USA? Why can't Deontay Wilder? Surely Deontay Wilder should have looked at those numbers 4 years ago and thought, hang on, I could do a bit of this. It doesn't have to be in the United States. Doesn't have to be.
I think that's what AJ should do, and I think Tyson Fury should do it as well. I reckon that they should start going on a stadium tour, doing Old Trafford, doing the Emirates, doing the City of Manchester, doing Stamford Bridge. I know some of them might be under 50,000, but the atmosphere there is going to be unbelievable. And I believe, like you said, if Deontay Wilder would come over to the UK, it'd get him more sales. Look at Conor McGregor at the weekend, 1.8 million sales. Box, that ain't making that, maybe. I don't know. It might make that, but I think it'd be very tight if that fight's going to make that.
Well, if you look at the Klitschko brothers, right? They were the champions, and it was on their terms. There was none of this going to Wembley. It was stadium fights in Germany. That's what it was. Stadium fights in Germany, not arenas. Stadium fights. They were heavyweight champions of the world, and that's their charity. That's where people went to go. You wanted to get a title, you had to go to Germany to get it. The same when David A. when he won a title. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's true. Valuev. When he fought Valuev.
When he fought Valuev. So when he fought Valuev, 2000, when he fought Valuev in
2010 was it? 2009.
2010, yeah, 20. No, it was around 2000. I think it was late 2009. He fought Valuev.
Yeah.
Because remember, he defended his title, because he fought Audley Harrison.
Yes, we'll forget that one.
Yeah, so forget that one. But what's happened? Basically, like I said, was it burnt? what's his guy's name? The
Bert something, isn't it? Burnt something. Bonte.
Fonte, yeah.
Burnt Bonte.
Yeah, but yeah, Burnt Bonte.
Burnt Bonte.
Yeah, he had a monopoly on like the promotions of the Calypsos, right? And he had a monopoly of all the heavyweight scene. So all the fights were made in Germany, right? And that's where fighters had to go. If you know, Bob Arum cannot sell out a stadium tour in you know, like in the United States. Tyson Fury does have a UK promoter, i.e. Frank Warren.
A good one too.
A very good one as well. It's about Frank Warren putting on a stadium tour in this country. I mean, you can't just sit there and watch Eddie Hearn do it all.
No. But the thing is, though, I felt sorry for Frank because Frank was like the spare wheel with Tyson. You had Bob Arum in Top Rank doing all the work, and Bob was kind of being left to the side and getting all the stick for it. And I feel like Frank's done a great job with Tyson. I feel like if it come over it, I feel Frank would do a better job with BT and Queensbury promoting that fight than what Bob is over there. Look, Deontay ain't selling that fight very well. I'm going to go to some of the chat quickly, Ken, because there's a few people coming in here. You got people saying that Tyson Fury's a con man, he's a liar, no good for boxing. He needs more time for peds. Like, people coming out with some ludicrous stuff, and I think you need to start putting some respect on these fighters' names. I appreciate all your comments.
I hear you, though, but the thing is, right, is that, you know, we're Tyson Fury fans. We don't like the comments that we're hearing. But again, I don't like people being accused of taking drugs until it's been proven. I think the drugs one I will never accept because that was never proven.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But the frustration with Tyson is inactivity, the failure to defend his titles. But like, they've always been extenuating circumstances, and this is an extenuating circumstance, COVID. But the problem is with boxing fans, what they're asking themselves is, there seems to be too many extenuating circumstances surrounding any rematches involving Tyson Fury, especially when he wins the title. His rematch, you know, with Klitschko was flooded with extenuating circumstances. But it's happening again now. We've got the extenuating circumstances for Wilder 3 is COVID. Yet we're not sure whether he has COVID, and we don't know which one of his circle has COVID, if not. So again, there's a lot of no shows with this event.
Exactly. No. Look, there's at least we got in a couple of weeks. Is it next week? Not this weekend. Next weekend, you got Joyce Takam. We've had him on the show, Ken. We spoke to him. What a lovely gentleman. That's a great heavyweight fight.
He's very confident of winning. He is like extremely confident of, you know, getting this over the line because he believes.
You've got to be though, haven't you? You've got to be. He still feels that, you know, that Joshua fight was stopped against his will, and that he was still ready to carry on, and that he, you know, but you know. What did you think? Let's get your opinion. What did you think on that, and then I'll give him my opinion. Did you think that Takam was stopped too early in that fight? Do you think he could have gone the 12 rounds? How did you see that? I think he could have gone 12 rounds. He would have lost. He was losing comfortably. Yeah. But I think he could have gone on. I think the doctors would, you know, like, I think the referee too cautious for my liking. But then again, it wasn't me getting those bombs from Joshua, wasn't it? No, I agree. And I think sometimes AJ was winning the fight easy on points. If it went to 12 rounds, he was going to get the victory on the judges' scorecard. I feel some fighters deserve to see the last bell, and I think in that fight, Takam deserved to see the bell. He took a lot of big shots. And if you can take the shots from Anthony Joshua and not get stopped by being knocked down or anything or being dropped, then obviously he deserved maybe to go to the end, because obviously, like we said, the ref stepped in and made the decision, which is their job too. And he saw what we didn't see because he's in there closer than what we are. Maybe the shots were making more of an impact than what we saw on the television or people at ringside. But yeah, Joshua was winning anyway. There's no debate about who would have won the fight overall. But yeah, some fighters maybe feel like they deserve to see the final bell. And in that fight, you could argue that Carlos did deserve to see the final bell. But look, he's got a different animal in Joe Joyce. Let's be real. Joe Joyce, for the man his size, he can backflip, front flip, the volume of punches. He's got an awesome jab. He's a juggernaut, like we said, the volume that he throws. He's got a 12-round engine for a heavyweight, which is very, very impressive, Ken. You've got to admit that. We'll get some likes in for the video. Subscribe to Pep Talk UK. But Ken, tell me what you think about Joe Joyce as opponent for Takam and the differences from Joe Joyce to Anthony Joshua.
Well, in terms of Joe Joyce is like, he's one of those fighters that will frustrate the life at you because simple reason is that he's got a superb chin, he's got superb stamina, and what's happened is he wears you down. And the thing about it is that normally it's not just his athleticism, but it's his punch power as well. He's not. People say he can't knock his man out, but what he does do is that he buzzes you. Every punch he throws hurts.
Yeah.
His jabs hurts. His right hand hurts. His left hook hurts. Yes, you may say, all right, he ain't going to knock you out concussively, but when you're repeatedly getting tagged accurately as well with those jabs and those crosses and those left hooks, it is going to take its toll. And that's one of the things with Takam as well. He's going to find it very, very difficult with Joe Joyce's reach, because if Joe Joyce doesn't use his reach, then there'll be a pork chop of the highest order. Use your reach, try and punch from range, and throw these hurtive punches as towards the head. Because if you can get on the head, eventually Takam will be pulled out for his own good. And I do feel it'll be a stoppage. But it won't be a knockout. But the referee will stop the fight because Takam will not be coming out with too much. So I'm looking at 9th round.
No, I agree, Ken. I think it'd be a late stoppage or a points victory for Joe Joyce. Look, we know that Carlos Takam's a very, very tough man. We've seen that, but we saw him against Derek Chisora, who, look, he does have punch power, Derek, but it's not really the one-punch knockout power that you expect to see with like a Wilder, a Joshua, even a Joe Joyce, in the sense of, I agree, Joe Joyce, he's got that punching where he does buzz you. He might hit you with a cuffing right hook, but you're going to be stumbling, you're going to feel it. With another fighter, they might hit you with that shot and it might just, you might not feel it. But I agree, with Joe Joyce, all he's got to do is buzz you with a little shot and your legs go a bit funny. And with Carlos, I'm not too sure where he had that bad knockout against Del Boy. Obviously, you know he can get knocked out. And we saw in Joe's last performance with them jabs, they are crucial. And I think that's what will be the difference in this fight. Takam a bit smaller in height than Joe Joyce, be perfect for him. Basically, it's another Daniel Dubois in a sense, in the fact that they're the same sort of stature in their stocky, big necks, big heads. I'd say Dubois has got the more power than Carlos Takam. Takam's probably better on the inside work and a bit more of a brawler than Daniel, because Daniel's very young still. There are things that Dubois can learn on. But for the stature and a similar sort of style, I feel like it's pretty similar to Daniel Dubois, where Takam's going to come quite tight up with the guard, coming forward, and Joe's just got to use his jab, pick him off a bit. And I agree with you, Ken. I reckon from 9 to 12 a stoppage. If not, it'll go to points. So, no, I think that's a great evaluation of how you think the fight's going to go there. And I think that I would have liked to have seen a bit more of a build-up to it, because I know they were relying on this fight to be like, that was on BT, then the Fury fight was on later that night. Now that it's lost it a bit, I feel like they should bring promote it a bit more, get it more out there, more out of it.
But it's probably too late to state that.
It's still 2 weeks though, Ken. They could be getting out on the TV, you know what I mean? I feel like they can.
I suppose you can, but again, it's the good thing about it is that Joe Joyce, right, is. What he's doing is that Joe Joyce is all over like I said, the socials, and hopefully I don't see a reason why our good friend Pro Breeze can't organise it, because
yeah, look, you're throwing the challenge there, Ken. Look, Pro's throwing it to you live.
If you're listening, can you get Joe Joyce on? We need to talk to Joe Joyce, get him on here. I'm sure like I said, with myself and Jay and Joe, we'd like to just talk to him just before the fight, so we can help, one, promote his fight for him, and two, just ask him a few questions, because there's loads of questions we need to ask him, because at the end of the day, we need to ask him questions regarding the situation involving Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, and how it's affected his career, because it's a domino effect in terms of the domino effect in terms of his fight with Usyk. There's also a domino effect for his rival Dillian Whyte and other heavyweight fighters. We need to ask a heavyweight how this proposed fight between the undisputed is affecting their careers. Do they feel resentful towards it? Because is it holding back their careers? Are they prepared to wait? Because Do they think that, you know, they can beat either fight? Are they willing to step aside and say, right, we fight the fighter next? Because these are loads of questions that we need to ask a real life heavyweight. And there's no one better who's active at the moment than Joe Joyce. Or maybe we can get Sam Jones on as well, because Sam Jones is another one. He's manager of Joe, you know, of Joe Joyce. How has it affected him? Because at the end of the day, even though Frank Warren's the promoter, Joe Joyce, you know, is, you know, Sam Jones's responsibility.
Client.
So again, so these are the whole situations that we're looking at as we speak. Someone's just sent me a link. You know, your friends on DAZN, they've already got their you know, like their YouTube channel, and on their YouTube channel at the moment, Tony Bellew was on there, and they're talking about, amongst other things, you know, Eddie Hearn's thoughts on Tyson versus Deontay Wilder. Also, they're talking about Eddie Hearn's thoughts about, you know, honest prediction for the Anthony Joshua versus Usyk. Tony Bellew's on there to ask him, Tony Bellew, to give an honest prediction when his best mate Anthony Joshua is fighting. Is going to be very difficult. So I watched that with interest. It was on 3 days ago. But all these things you're talking about in terms of like,
well, we want to know, Ken, and like you said there, the main thing is the fans want to know. And like, look, Kenny put out a challenge there for Pro Bees. He said, look, can you try and get Joe Joyce on there? Look, if there's a man who's going to do it, Pro Bees is a great interviewer. He grafts his nuts off. He's one of the best. So I'm sure he'll look into that, and if he can get it, he'll deliver it. But look, Star Fox McLeod, their thoughts on Jamal Charlo versus Castano, why Kenny's gone there. I'm sure he'll be back in a moment. Look, as we were saying earlier, Star Fox McLeod, there's no promotion really going on here in the UK. Obviously, I see it on the socials, Instagram, everything like that. But look, there's no promotion, and that's the bad thing in boxing at the moment. Castano's a good fighter. If people didn't know, Castano beat Errol Spence Jr. as an amateur. Great fight. Got a great record. I think it's 17-1 if I'm correct. So he's a good opponent for Charlo. But Charlo, it's just not enough promotion. It's an absolute joke, to be fair, that these fighters go through what they go through. And you get into fight week and you don't even know that they're fighting. I guarantee if you ask 90% of the UK, Star Fox McLeod, you watching the Charlo fight at the weekend, they'll be like, who, what? Like, oh, is it on? Even hardcore boxing fans, they'll be like, is he fighting this weekend? They're tuned in, but they probably haven't even heard it's on. So that's what I'm saying. You need a bit more promotion going out there. The UFC, they're on it all the time. Like I say, you go on their socials, you'll know what fight's happening next month, next week, the week after that, October. I know Eddie's trying to do all that at the moment with DAZN. But look, we need some answers, people. We need people out there letting the fans know what's going on. Because look, we're the ones that put the money in there. I'm saying it again. Look, I'm all for the fighters, and the fighters are for the fans, because they need the fans to tune in to buy. Look, Conor McGregor had 1.8 million viewers at the weekend. That's because of the fans. They invested their money and time. And as I said, the USA, the market they're pitting over there in America, $80 for a pay-per-view. I paid £20, 20 UK pound. And if it was UK, it would have been £50. So $80, £50, you get double what we paid. They need to look at this price plan. They need to look at it. And that's probably why boxing's going down in America. Because if you're having to choose a couple of pay-per-views a month, UFC or boxing, I think a lot of the fans in America are going UFC, because they can only afford that, and they need to look at it more. But look, get some more comments in. I'm still here. I ain't going anywhere for a few minutes. I'll probably stay on for a little bit longer. Let everyone's going on.
I'm not going anywhere.
You're back. Oh, you're back.
Yeah,
he's back.
Yeah,
stop calling you Arnie. I'll be back.
I'll tell you one thing, right? Someone rang me, and I always say to people, when I'm doing a podcast, boxing or football, don't ring me. You get in front, you get in my connection. And the person who rang me is going to get a rocket. Unless it's important and life-threatening, never, ever ring me when I'm doing Pep Talk UK and I'm doing my other Arsenal podcast. I only do 3. I only do 2. I don't do any other podcasts except for one podcast, a weekly one, and I do one with you guys on a weekly basis. Apart from that, I don't do any other podcasts. I don't have time to do any podcasts. I don't want to do any other podcasts. So the ones I really want to do, don't phone me.
Ken, anyway. Look, everyone, you've all heard it here. Do not mess with Ken when he's on a podcast. You need to clip that up, Ken. Get it on Instagram so everyone knows on there. Do not mess with me when I'm doing pep talk or I'm doing my Arsenal podcast. So look, Ken, I want to ask you quickly.
I do 2 podcasts. Don't call
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you're making Ken throw the birdies out tonight. He's very, very annoyed. It's very seriously. But Ken, this is what we're saying earlier. You were saying about YouTube fighters and that you don't like it because they're taking the money out of other fighters' mouths. Look, that's a valid point, and I wouldn't disagree with you. There's another time for that. But we spoke to you last time. Ken the man, making his YouTube boxing debut. Are you still looking for an opponent? Fog Dad, are you out there? Do you want this smoke? The Euros are over. I would love to see you in it, Ken. And look, that would make boxing interesting. Bruce said it. Reality stars are going to come over and do a boxing event. That's something new. No, you're a YouTube star, and YouTube's doing it.
Yeah, but
you're on YouTube. You're on YouTube. You're filming now. You're classed as a YouTuber.
Yeah, but I'm a guest. All right,
you've been on YouTube more than 10 times.
If you want to class as a YouTuber too, but let's put it into like I said, let's get some reality out there. I only do 2 podcasts. One of them is this one. The other one is one for a good friend of mine, Lee Gunner. Apart from that, I don't do any other podcasts. Any other podcasts. I do appear a little bit on Claude the Bouncers. Apart from that, that's it. I don't do any other ones. I don't have any.
I'm having a bit of banter with you, Ken. I just like to see you, like when you get passionate about it, and I know how you feel about the YouTube boxing and all that. It kind of reminds me of Cally Sowland when he goes on about Logan Paul when he goes off his nut and that. It's just good, and I like to see it when you talk about it.
I know, but on a serious level, it's really mainly those 3 that I'll go on, and I tend to go on for the first year of food, so I don't tend to do any other ones apart from these ones. I've got a life.
Well, we're lucky to have you, Ken. We're lucky to have you. We love having you on here.
Not at all. But in terms of my biggest passions, are football and boxing, especially Arsenal. So in terms of like the shows I want to go on are ones who I feel comfortable in going on. And I feel comfortable that the people who I go on shows with share my same passion for Arsenal and the boxing. And that's why I love coming on Pep Talk UK. I love being invited every week. And I love going on, the Lee Gunner show as well. And I do a bit for Claude and the Bouncers because I feel like there's a chemistry there. If I don't feel chemistry on a show, I think that I'll just do it once at a full time. Because at the end of the day, it's not a case of me having chemistry with them. It's the other way. They may think, well, Ken goes on a bit too much. No, we don't really want him. We don't need him. He may not have enough viewers. He may not have enough Twitter followers. He may not have enough followers on Instagram. He probably doesn't get enough views. So that's fine. That's fine. I think, from now on, I'm only going to work with people who I feel that, are genuinely into into Arsenal like I am, and genuinely into boxing like I am, and share my same passions. Don't want to agree with you all, but I want to debate. I really want to battle. I don't want this nicey. I don't want this nicey. Let's all be mates together. To hell with that. It's boring. Life's too short for that. I want to battle. I want fun.
And also, Ken, look, I don't have the highest Instagram follows or the following, but what I think people like, Ken, it's just the word passion. When people see someone's passionate about something, then people warm to that. And look, I don't really have a following. That's not really an interest of mine. I don't do it for any of that. I literally do this because I love talking about fighting. I love talking about boxing. I love talking about everything about boxing, and also UFC, which I'm slowly bringing in because that's another love and passion of mine. And I get enjoyment speaking to people like yourself and you learning new things about it. And that's why I love doing this. So look, I think, like you say, as Eddie Hearn says on his great podcast, no point, no passion. And that's what I think that fans relate to. And that's what people get with you, Ken. And look, we enjoy having you on here. I enjoy speaking to you. The banter's fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's the thing. I love me boxing. I love me football and me boxing. I only want to work with people who are like I said, ain't playing it. I don't want to act with move with people who are acting and trying up their profiles, or the sort of people who are just like 1 minute they need you and then you don't hear from them and they only contact you when you need you. I don't waste time. I don't deal with time wasters. Dave, I'm not. I don't want to. A job at the end of it. I've got a job. I don't want to be like going on Sky Sports and everything. I don't need to. I've got a job. All I want to do is just talk about something. I want I'm passionate about Arsenal, football, and the boxing. That's all I'm passionate about, and I've got great knowledge of it. I ain't going to be, like modest to say. I've got great knowledge of it because guess what? I watch the fights, I study the fights, and I make it my business to have great knowledge of it. And I watch all the games of football, and I want to be with people who take it seriously. I want real people, people who just who enjoy it, who genuinely enjoy what they're doing and not doing it for views.
Exactly. And Ken, just before I go any further, everyone hit a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 20k. We've got a great team at Pep Talk. We've got Shaz, Pro Bees, Joe Pugh, also Kenny Ken, and myself, Jay Alby. Just get the subscribes up there. Definitely. And look, we want to hit that 20k. And going back to what you said, Ken, it's all about passion. I do this for passion. I've done the watch along at the weekend. I didn't know how the UFC was going to go, but I was interacting with the fans. We had a great time. It was fantastic. And I feel, like you say, if you're doing it out of passion, things just happen smoothly. But if you're forcing it, you're trying to be an act, you're trying to plan things or whatever, it will never work.
Don't work like that. Don't work like that.
No, and even I've done notes. Not because I wanted, it's just to help me. Half the time I don't look at it because what happens is you're passionate about what you're doing and you're involved in what's going on at the time. And that's how it should be. It's all natural. It all comes off great. And like you say, when you're talking and say we go to your boxing and your football, we go to your football, shall we say, Ken, when you're with Lee and that and you're talking about your football, that's passionate as well. It's the same passion that you have on here. And that's what everyone likes to see. And that's why YouTube's a great platform for people like us. Go back 10 years ago when you were going to the boxing shows, watching David Hay and watching all them people fight. Yeah. You wanted a platform like this to talk to people. It's so frustrating. Well, I get it as well. You couldn't talk to anyone because...
I didn't know these things kind of existed. It's like it's a surprise to me because I only found out about 10 years ago that I said, what is YouTube? And I thought, what? Anyone can sell what their own YouTube channel, not me. I haven't got the time. But again, it's all about getting yourself out there. There's room for everyone else, Yeah. And I think everyone should have their niche. YouTube is a young person's market, but there's still room for people like myself, middle-aged fogies like myself to have a view and everything, And I want to be in a situation where it's okay if someone in the comments don't like you. It's not a big deal. It's even okay if someone in the comments don't agree with you. That's fine. I think worrying about what people think about you is different. I'll tell you one thing, you should be more worried if you're faking it. Because you will be found out. 100%. You will be found out if you're a fake and you're trying to act and you're not being true to yourself, they will find you out. And I'll be more worried about that than having someone call me odd name and saying that they think I'm crap or someone just not agreeing what I'm saying. That's nothing. That's life.
I think Ken, with that point is a great example. I think if you come in with that mentality, you're always going to struggle. Because for me, for the first 3 or 4 months, I didn't even look at the comments, Ken. I'll be honest with you. Obviously, Joe is the main host and Pro Bees, they do the comments. But when I finish a show like this live, I don't go back normally and read the comments or anything like that because I'm not on here for that. I'm on here to talk about what I'm here to talk about. I appreciate everyone's comments and it's fantastic. And when I'm not the host like I am tonight, I'll go through the comments and I'll give the fans respect to go through them and speak about what they got to say. But I think if you are fake and you are worrying about all that, it will consume you and you ain't going to go anywhere. But for me, don't go that way.
It ain't worth it because what's happening, right? It's gonna, don't do it because simple reason is that it's not worth it. It's not good for your mental health. YouTube is to have a laugh. If you take this too seriously, unless you're running a business and you've got your audience to find. But if it's something you want to do for a bit of passion, don't take it too seriously because guess what? I've seen it happen with loads of YouTubers. They get depressed. Their mental health suffers because they're so up. It really hurts them when people say not horrible things about them or don't agree with them, and that is not right. And the boxing,
no, it's not right.
Boxing's always been a situation where we've always prided ourselves that we are approachable and we all can have a disagreement. Like a boxer, it's easy when I see someone like Bruce Buffer on here. It means a lot. It means a lot to see Carlos Tackle
be in his presence. To be in their presence, to have a conversation with them.
you know, and Dillian White's, you know, head trainer now. It was lovely to have him on as well.
Yeah,
you know,
Xavier Miller, what a guy,
so
fantastic guy.
Miller. And you know, that's why, you know, I don't feel like I'm being out of turn, you know, demanding that Joe Joyce joins us. I don't feel
I threw it out there, Ken. When you disconnected, I threw it out in the Pro Bs. I said, look, you've done it to him. You threw a pipe bomb live on Pep Talk. You're saying, get me Joe Joyce, get me Sam Jones.
Get Joe Joyce, Sam Jones, get on here. Give us at least 20 or 30, 20 minutes tops. We want to talk to you. We want to ask you questions about, you know, the state of the heavyweight situation, how the proposed fight, you know, the proposed fight, which hasn't happened, it's probably going to happen next year. How does it affect your careers? What are you going to do with Joyce? How are you going to push Joyce into those positions? We need to know as a public. We're nice, you know, to have that, you know, situation. We can have that sort of interaction, you know, and we could, you know, say, go on, you know, buy tickets for the fights. You know, let's just get it out there. You know,
look. If we start getting, get your subscribes in, get the 20K. Look, we had Bruce Buffer on tonight. We had Mike Goldberg the other night with Dada 5000. We're looking to get big guests on. We're looking to get people on there.
We had Dennis Hobson on as well.
Dennis Hobson on. We've had some great guests. We had Denzel Bentley on a few months ago before his fight with Feed It Cash. We've had some great people. Carlos Takam, as you said earlier. Pep Talk. We've got some great interviews out there. We've seen AJ.
Josh Warrington, get out there. Josh Warrington. Felix
I'm
Cash.
sure.
Come on, mate.
Yeah. I'm sure maybe we can speak to Bruce about maybe getting Michael on later in the future, maybe. Look, Pep Talk UK is the place to be. We're going onwards and upwards. Get your likes in, subscribe to the channel. And look, everyone here is putting graft in. Behind the scenes, Joe's doing great stuff. He does media at college. He's going out doing interviews. Go and check his interview a few weeks ago with Frank Warren, with Josh Taylor. You got Pro Bs grafting up and down the country, going in the gyms, finding the fighters, trying to get us the content. We've got Shaz doing some great interviews as well. Just keep checking the channel out. We've been kind enough to work with Dennis Hobson. We've been up the Fight Zone. Joe's been up there. Pro Bs has been up there. We're making waves. We're now going into the world of the UFC as well, because that's a great sport. It's so many similarities. You can see, look, we've got Bruce from the UFC, Michael. We can see where the world's going, and there's great personalities. And then, like Ken said, they're great people to have a conversation to. I'm sure any UFC fighter Ken would have a great conversation with. You would learn something, because you like to learn something, Ken. And that's what people like. And that's what I like to do, learn. So we want these people on the channel. Look, Kenny's thrown Pro Bs a couple of challenges. We'll try and get them on, Ken. We'll try and sort something out.
I forgot one thing. Amateur boxers, up and coming boxers. Come on,
yeah,
give us a call.
Get in touch. Look at the bottom. Yeah, look at the bottom. You see, you got everyone's socials there. Pep Talk UK's Instagram. Anyone like that, you want an opportunity, you want to come speak to us, we're happy to speak to you. We're all about the fans. We're all about getting content out there. And like we say, like me and Ken say, it's the place we want to be. But look, we got some comments here, Ken. Let's see what's going on in here. We got what's your thoughts about Charlo and Castano at the weekend? I don't know if you know much about what's going on over there with the Charlo brothers at the moment, or if you know much about Castano. I said it's not been promoted very well. It's on this weekend. Your thoughts?
Again, it's one of those things where, you know, I know about the fight. You know, it's one of those fights where, again, it's just so sad. It saddens me that, you know, the promotion is being so poor. You know what I mean? It's like I feel for genuine boxing fans. Because the reason I feel for these genuine boxing fans is because they're not getting to see these fighters, these fights, and when they're getting them, they're not knowing they're on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I think it's one of those fights, and that's the problem. You've got to promote yourselves better, man. Boxing, come on. UFC is just leaving you behind. We need to get younger people to the sport, younger fans who want to. You know, we don't want a situation where instead of wanting to have the next heavyweight champion, we want to have the next Conor McGregor. I want to see the next Anthony Joshua, the next Tyson Fury, the next Dillian White. You know, but and that's where boxing has to sell itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if these you know, like I said, reality TV stars or people from new media, then fine. If they can help the sport and the fighters stay with the sport, that's fine. You know what I mean? If
Ken, as fans, or what I believe is, if people like Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn done like once a month, they've done like a fan day where they had a meeting for an hour or two with, like, they could pick out, I don't know, 10, say, YouTube channels like ours, IFL, Boxing Social, some fans, and said, look, give us your honest opinions on what you would like to see improve. Like, work with them a little bit more just to get their opinions. Because, look, the fans' opinions, the most opinion. And people might say that's unrealistic, but in this modern world, that isn't unrealistic.
There's
You can set
unrealistic.
you can set up a media day, and you can just say, look, don't, because a lot of people feel like the people are patronising to fans or whatever. We shouldn't really have an opinion because what experience I have. I'll tell you what, I've watched boxing for 25 years. You've watched boxing for about 30, 40 years, I'd say, Ken. You've got knowledge, mate. No one should disregard your knowledge when you've sat there and watched something for 40 years, 30 years, however long you watched it, even 10 years watching something religiously. We've got knowledge. Look at Jose Mourinho. Wasn't a good player, was he? Semi-pro, not even a professional. One of the best managers ever. What knowledge is looking, learning, and just taking it all in, and actually knowing a lot. And a lot of fans know a lot of stuff that's going on in the world. And I feel like if you sat down with us and had a chat with us, it would help them a lot, I feel.
Definitely, because you've got to realise, right, you know, some of these shows are struggling, and even out of lockdown, man, you know, a lot of fans, sports fans, have given it a really, you know, have had time to think about how they want to be entertained, how much they want to pay for these tickets. So we got to be good barometer, because guess what, right? We're in a situation where there's a lot of people who worried, who've been furloughed for quite a lot of time, long time. The furlough's going to end from the 19th this month. So what's happening right now? They're now going to be very choosy about their finances, because in some cases they've had a 20% pay cut. You know, where they. So again, you've got to sell yourself to these fans. You know, they're not going to just. It's not enough for you to say, "Oh, they're boxing fans. I'll come anyway." Well, no. They first and foremost, they need to. They need to fight us to talk to us, and also you need to tell us what's happening, when it's happening, and be concrete. You know, and then have something in reserve if it doesn't work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We still want to be able to get. We still want the show to go on, and we still want to be able to. You know, our tickets to be valid. We still want a TV channel to still show these shows. We don't want this organisation. Yes, we understand that, you know, BT have probably got financial problems and not too sure where they want to carry on their sports channel. Do they want to sell their rights off, or do they want a partnership where they can share the rights? We saw what happened in the FA Cup. Yeah, ITV got the FA Cup now, and they share it with the BBC. Fair enough, but we want to know what BT are doing. Are you good? Can you explore the situation where you can go with ITV box office? We love you to ITV, because at the end of the day, all you could do is partnership with BBC. We like to know. We know that Eddie Earn, as a podcast and BBC Sounds, a boxing podcast of the BBC, maybe your DAZN channel, maybe you could, work with the BBC. We need all of that, because at the end of the day, we want access to the fights. We want boxing in our face. You know the situation, what they always say, or the description. How do you deal with people who ignore you? Stand in front of them and start shouting. Start shouting to the boxing fans.
Make some noise. Make some noise. Be heard.
Be heard.
That's it.
Be heard.
And also, Ken, what I believe is where the world's changing now, I feel like fans can make a big impact in these sports. Because if you see it, like in the UFC, they do things like they offer competitions to win front row seats to sit in with Dana White in there during the week. And what they do is they fill time very well. Like boxing, say if there's not a show for 2 weeks, it's dead until fight week happens. But the UFC, they do the Contender Series, the Ultimate Fighting Series. This is where boxing needs to fill them gaps midweek in to keep you interested. We need like a contender, like back in the day with Sylvester Stallone, that boxing show. We need prize fighter.
That was wicked.
UFC do that now, Ken. They do the Ultimate Fighting Show, and they do the Contender Series every Tuesday, where Dana White puts on a show every Tuesday. They're like amateurs trying to become professional, and if he believes that they've done well in that fight, he gives them a UFC contract. There's loads of fighters he hasn't given a contract, but they've come back 2 or 3 times. Then they've come into the UFC, so it's a great opportunity, and they're good fillers to fill during the week while we're waiting for fights. And I feel like the boxing world, Eddie's going to go that way. I've seen today, breaking news, Eddie's joined with Instagram and Facebook partnership. So look, your question to with here it comes up here. Haydar Mahmood, my man. I've just said that comment right there. Matchroom has signed a deal with Instagram and Facebook. That's where my jam is going to come in. This is why I didn't want you to get so angry the other day when I was saying there's a role for her, Ken, and it'll be with Instagram and Facebook. She'll be talking to the fighters before the show and after and during the week, and that's her job because she's an influencer, a social influencer. So calm down. I hope the levels are down. Maya Jama, is she safe? Is she safe at the moment with you, Ken?
She has her uses.
No. We'll have a bit more respect for that. She does a great job, and she'll do great on that.
You know what's happened, right? Is that you got to think outside the box sometimes, and you got to try things out. And I think what's happening right now is that she comes from a new media world. She's friends with a lot of people, both with conventional media and new media. Friends with chunks. She's also a good friend of mine, Poet. If you any of you guys
I know Poet. Yeah, of course.
Poet.
Yeah,
Poet.
100%.
I've known Poet for 8 years. Me and Poet. I actually appeared on Filthy Fellas. Poets.
Oh wow.
I was on Filthy Fellas.
I've seen him for a few years. I've followed him, Ken. So for you knowing him, fair play, mate.
Remember, my claim to fame. I've done one episode of Filthy Fellas. I did.
Wow, it's a good claim to fame. It's a good claim to fame.
Is that Poet got me on as his mate of Filthy Fellas, and we still keep in touch even to this day, and we still give each other a bear hug when we see each other. And certain people, and there's a few people, Filthy Fellas, who still, give me a hug when they see me. So I have appeared on Filthy Fellas.
Ken,
and
Ken,
I've got another boast as well.
Come on.
Like Euro 2012, I was on a Sky platform doing the watch-alongs for Euro 2012. So I appeared on Sky doing a watch.
You got to the top then. You got to the top then, Ken. You got on Sky.
Yeah,
you got there. You got to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, but it wasn't actually. It was on a Sky platform. It wasn't actually on Sky Sports. It was on a channel. It was called Sports Tonight. But they had a platform on Sky, and it was guess who owned the channel? Kelvin McKenzie. So I was employed by Kelvin McKenzie for about. Even though I still had a very good job, part time I worked for Kelvin McKenzie, and his words were to me was, Kenny, don't ask me for money, or I won't pay you. I'll employ you, but you're my assistant. He's the one who pays you, because I actually saw him in a pub outside the studios. He went, I know you are, and I love your work, but don't ask me for a pay rise or for money, because I don't deal with the money. It's down to him. So if you want a pay rise, ask him.
Well, that's why he's a good businessman, Ken. But what we're saying, like you're saying there, these social influencers nowadays make a massive impact in the world. Yeah, and I think even on this channel, it'd be great to get a couple on there, like people like Expressions, people like that, personalities, to get their thoughts. I see him. You can see it behind me. I've got my UFC belt there. I see Expressions walking around with his UFC belt. Yeah. Look, you want a challenge? There's a challenge right here. We can do it, Expressions.
God bless his soul. God bless his soul.
Yeah, and he's a Tottenham fan, so we feel sorry for him even more, Ken.
Well, I've spoken to Expressions, and God bless his soul. Me and Expressions were at our good friend Claude's funeral. So
definitely. I'm a fan of him too, Ken. I'm a fan. I subscribe to Expressions channel. I love him, but I think it'd be great on the channel.
Well, my mum loves Expressions as well. I don't know him too well to get him on. I can't influence him that well. I don't know him that well, but maybe his pro breeze can reach out with him. But yeah, he's a lovely man, and he's got a very, very successful platform. And I think what's happening right now is that new media. That's where Maya Jama is going to be like work, because she has got a background in new media. Again, it's younger viewers. As Bruce Buffer mentioned, in terms of like kind of the sort of the age range of the views that they're getting in the United States with UFC 8 and 35. Well, in terms of DAZN UK coverage, Maya Jama, where's her biggest fan base come from? 18 to 35-year-olds. So we're in that sort of, how do I say it? This sort of, and I say it's the greatest respect. When you were younger and you went on holiday, the 1830s holidays, basically where, all the young people
Bruce Cruise and that.
Bruce Cruise. And I think that's where Maya Jama comes in, where she gets all those sort of 18 to 30s kind of fans.
Ken, as we know with our very own Joe Pugh, we had that joke before, remember, where we said that he's probably been stalking her on Instagram. You're correct. That age group, that age group, they've got it locked down with my jammer.
Well, he pretended he never heard of her, but that I
Oh, that's a lie. We know that's a lie. Yeah, we know that's a lie. We know Joe Pugh's watching. We know who you've been watching, and we called you out on it. But Ken,
but, you know,
I was only joking. One minute with expressions. What I was saying is, social media. I've seen what he's done with like WWE. He does a lot of WWE references, and he's got the support of them. What I mean is, if boxing got more behind the YouTube platforms, it would help more. KSI's coming out with the work with the Sauerland brothers. It's just these people can help the sport if it's put in the right way.
If you know with KSI, the reason why he gets a bit of a buy and he gets a buy is because he actually genuinely at time he actually wanted to be a boxer. But then the thing with KSI is that, you know, he takes the sport very seriously. He's actually very good, actually. He actually can box.
Yeah.
But then
no, he is good. Yeah, I agree.
But the thing with KSI, I think he sees himself as a multi-talented kind of guy, because I think he's got a new like single out, isn't he? Album out.
Yeah. Look. One thing, KSI, that man, I've got a bone to pick with him, Ken. He's too bloody talented. He's too talented.
Yeah,
he's good at everything. YouTube star, fantastic. Musician, fantastic. Jumped in the boxing world, done what he needed to do. And I agree with you. He's got good basic skills, and I think he could fight at the level that he fights at. He does fantastic, but he's just too talented. And I think, there's got to be a fault. There's got to be a fault somewhere. But no, he's doing great stuff.
Yeah, but I think that's where I do understand the situation. I do understand that, you know, like where Eddie's going with, because at the end of the day, one of the things you know that is consistent that Eddie Earn, you know, especially this sort of matchroom boxing angle, he's always wanted younger people, and I think he's purposely gone for younger people. And the reason why
he's gone with Callie, hasn't he? He's gone with Callie Sauerland. Eddie done the Logan fight, the first fight, but Eddie's not involved in this deal. This deal's with Wasserman Boxing and Callie Sauerland.
Yeah, but you know what I'm trying to say is, in terms of like people behind the scenes, like the head of matchroom boxing, a younger person. So these are people who've been with the company since they were 16. So basically, what he's trying to say is that he's basically saying your job isn't actually to do how do I say it, the runner type of things. You are going to be a runner, but what I need you to do is that you need to tell me what young people want. What do young people want in terms of like presentation, entertainment, and promotion? I employed you for that, and this is your role, and it's how you make your way in the company. Eddie Earn, if you look at it, he's about a few years younger than me. He's only about 42. He's a young man who still is in with it, and I think that's what happens right now. Is that
Frank Smith helps him out? I think being 26. I think Frank Smith is good on that.
Frank Smith, young person, and I think that's what it is. Is that new media is a younger person's game. Yeah. In terms of other situations as well, not only new media is a younger person's game. Younger people do not own a TV. They watch programs on their computers. They watch programs on their phone. They are streamers.
Yeah, apps.
They're not TV. Apps. They're apps. They're streamers and they're apps. They're not what I would call they're not what I call someone, and I say it's a great respect, someone who's going to, right now I've got a big TV screen in front of me. Guess what's on? EastEnders. These guys probably don't even know EastEnders. The only connection over in EastEnders is that EastEnders are trying to get younger characters on. But apart from that, I ask a lot of people, what you got? Where's your TV? I don't own a TV. I said, what do you mean you don't own a TV? Well, I watch everything online. I said, what? All these programs? Yeah, online. And I said, how do you do it? Fire Stick. So what the bloody hell is a Fire Stick? An Amazon Fire
laptops.
Stick.
Yeah, they throw it in that back of TV. Yeah, it's crazy, Ken.
Yeah, and some of them get their laptops and connect it to their TVs.
And their phone. Say if you've only got it on your phone, you can do that mirroring, can't you? So like me, I've got BT Sport on my phone. I can just mirror it to the TV. So you can just mirror it to the TV, and it's on your TV.
Can you get the DAZN to the TV then?
I can get the DAZN on the TV. You can run it through the PlayStation. You've got a PlayStation. You can get the DAZN app on PlayStation.
I'm going to ask you because the other day, like this is a fans want to hear, but I'm going to ask you. You're going to have to send me an Instagram because guess what? I've got DAZN on my phone. but I want to get on my TV. You need to send me instructions how to get on my TV.
All right, yeah, Ken. One moment. Cole Lucio in the fans comments. Good evening. Subscribe and like to the video. And Ken, have you got a TV that mirror? Look, we'll do this quickly. We're staying for 2 more minutes. I'll quickly ask you a quick question. Does your phone mirror to your TV?
My phone's next to me, mirroring my TV. What do you mean?
So, like, have you got a smart TV?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you got a smart TV, you can go on your phone and you can mirror. Like, there's a button on there, and it'll say mirror what's going on there.
What?
Is that your dinner call?
Yes,
your dinner shout?
It's actually my youngest daughter said asked me if I wanted what I wanted for dinner. Not that she was cooking.
Perfect timing, though, Ken. But no, if you can mirror your phone with these new smart TVs, you scroll down and it say mirror on your phone. But I can talk to you on Instagram, get it sorted. I promise you, I'll get the zone on your TV for you. And we did hear not long ago it should be coming onto your now boxes and stuff like that. But before we wrap it up, Ken, where can people find you? It's been a pleasure having you on tonight. We saw the great Bruce Buffer, which for me goes down in a highlight for me because I've been watching him for years.
Well, first and foremost, right, you can find me on Twitter. I know a few people haven't followed me because I'm boring at the moment.
We'll get you back on there. Ken, get on there. Clip some up from tonight. There's a few bits you can get on there. Get it out there and wind them all up again.
Yeah, I think in terms of Instagram, I'm getting a bit boring as well because I think I've lost a few followers as well. But if you want to sort of stay with me, you know, I've got loads of stuff that were exciting, especially from the past. But Instagram and Twitter, it's the same. It's at KennyKen1972.
That's fantastic, Ken. You get your dinner order, and you can find me, Alby1989, on Instagram. You've got all the lads there at Pro
Don't
B.
forget to send a message.
Joe Bew. Yeah, send a message to all the fans. Look, if there's anyone you want us to try and get on or questions or whatever, just fire them onto our socials. We'll happily talk to you. We'll get in touch. Kenny's thrown his wish list out there. Everybody, thanks for watching. This is Pep Talk UK. Hit 20K for us. We want to get them numbers up. Have a good evening, and we'll be back very soon. See you soon. Pep Talk UK.
And remember,